Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship, aka the Velocity Banking Cult. So just want to show you the latest video performance about your cult leader demanding that your line of credit be your main operating account. So this is the latest video performance. And it's been doing pretty well. One day, 537 views. So I feel like there's a demand for a Velocity Banking Cult. And, I'm kind of half serious, half not. But I feel like The Simpsons kind of predicted the world that we would be in. If you ever watch this episode, basically there's this self-help guru who tells the whole city of Springfield to be like the boy and do whatever it is that you want, and there's no rules, no structure. And I feel like human beings, we need to gravitate towards some structure, not like complete, like do whatever you want. And I think that's why most people are a mess because they're like, yeah, I'm totally gonna embrace do whatever I want. And then now that, our financial lives are a mess, like maybe I do need a cult, right? That's what I'm thinking. And then, The Simpsons also had an episode where Homer becomes an accidental cult leader. That's probably me. But the thing is, here's what I want to tell you in this video, that this cult is under attack. And I feel like it's under attack by people who don't even, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm confused. You ever get attacks and you're like confused? I get confused too. Like, there's some legitimate criticisms like, oh, a higher interest rate line of credit versus low interest rate loan. I've addressed that in other videos, but there are criticisms and attacks where it's like, this doesn't even make any sense. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Take a look at this one. This was on a video where it was like, if you had no if you have you could have been debt free 7 years ago if you knew velocity banking. And then someone posted 6 days ago, folks, all this stuff is going to eat away your youth, health, and insanity. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, bro, like, did you even like listen to the video? I just do spreadsheets on the internet, and all velocity banking is just clicking a button on the bank's website to pay more than the minimum payment on your line of credit. Actually, I got the AI voice generator cranked up, so we can just play this comment. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But I'm just amazed. Actually, hold on. Give me 1 second to make sure that I don't blast it. Okay, so yeah, let's just play it.
Folks, all this stuff he's advising you about, just understand this is the stuff that eats away your youth, your health, your sanity. By the time you're 40, you're going to be exhausted, fat, unhealthy, depressed, mean, and bitter. You guys think you're doing it differently. Or better. Nope, you're not. You're just the new generation of economic slaves. Eager economic slaves. My Gen X had the grace to not be so eager for economic enslavement. And they'll use you up and spit you out. If you survive, you might become everything you hated about your own parents, while your children hate you. Yay, society.
I was so confused when I read this because, like, dude, like, if people had their debts paid off quickly and you didn't really have to change your lifestyle, like, how is that going to eat away your health, depression, and make you bitter? And not only that, like, I was talking about eating organic and juicing for your health, and nobody listens to me anyways. So it's like, you do a combination of things. You want to take care of your financial side, you want to take care of your physical and spiritual health. But I don't really get it when people post these comments like, what are we talking about here? Like, I'm talking about, like, physics or something like that, and then someone's talking about like how math and science is gonna like make you the worst life insurance salesman. Like random comments. I'm like, what? you know. But all right, let's get started with today's video. Give me one moment. All right, there we go. So let's just get into it. Velocity banking in our velocity banking cult. But in today's session, we're just going to imagine that this is the rich person's situation to help with velocity banking. And believe it or not, I've had random people email me like who make more than 10 grand a month and tell me like they're broke, right? Like I've had that happen to me. So again, if you're making more than 10 grand a month, instead of giving it to the credit card companies, give it to me by purchasing a Renatus education by clicking the Google form link below. But it's really weird how even the people who make 10 grand a month are so hesitant just to even purchase like a $1,000 or $2,000 package. I'm just like, all right, whatever. It's not like I need your money. Although I would like that nice $300 commission, even though I paid off my mortgage into 3 years. Okay, so let's get to it. So, what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using your line of credit as your main operating account. And no, it's not going to make you exhausted, fat, unhealthy, depressed, mean, and bitter because you're just literally clicking a bank's website to overpay a line of credit. So instead of making a minimum payment, oh my goodness, put your entire paycheck, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. And so we only need two things. Number one is a budget, and then number two is a line of credit. And let me erase this. I forgot to. Okay. So number one is a budget, and number two is a line of credit. And as you can see here, we have a budget, income, expenses. We're having a negative savings rate. So this is actually where the banks want you to be because I don't know if you knew this, they made 5 billion in 2023 in overdraft fees, and they actually used to make more, but I think the CFPB or whatever for whatever reason they just kind of got rid of in certain instances overdraft fees, but they're still raking it in. 5 billion last year. So let's go ahead and do this. So with our expenses, we have to do an expense breakdown. So every single debt that we have to list, right? So 10 credit cards, but we're going to get a little bit fancy here. A $55,000 auto loan and $200,000 student loan, right? We're going to assume that we went to med school or something. And then a mortgage that's $350,000. Okay. And then other food, gas, insurance, 2,500. So in total, that would be 167 for credit cards, plus 555 plus 200 plus 350. And that would be 772K of debt. 770, so almost $1 million of debt. So let's see what we can do with about $700,000 of debt. Well, I say almost a million because 700,000 is kind of like near a million to me, but it's really around $800,000 of debt. So what we do is we assume in our little cult here that we're going to make the same amount of income. And I know for some of you this seems insane, but listen, it's actually to your advantage to learn this. When you're actually not making that much money, because again, I learned this when I was making $20,000 a year, and I was just like, why am I learning this? And then once I got my first home, well, blam, $50,000 or $58,000, 25% of my mortgage paid off in 1 year, and then in 3 years I paid it all off, right? So always strive to make more money. Definitely always strive to make more money, right? But even if you do make more money, you want to make sure that your debts are paid off because I know plenty of people. Like, for example, I talked about a nurse who owned two homes and never paid them off after like 20 years. But she, in fact, she had to sell one of them in the nice area because I don't think she could have handled the upkeep of having two homes, right? And in fact, in that nice area, she probably bought it for $300,000 or $400,000 and had to sell it for $800,000, right? So there was so much appreciation, but at the same time, with my two properties, I'm just going to keep them for life unless something happens to me, right? And when you have properties that are paid off, much easier to keep them than it is when you have debt. And if you didn't know about like rental real estate, go to Bigger Pockets, look at what's good cash flow. They say that good cash flow is only $200 a month. So having cash flow in rental real estate is actually really, really, really tough. Really tough. Okay, so most important thing, or one of the most important things, is that we don't have any savings, right? You make 12 grand a month, like not having any savings. What are you going to do with your emergency fund? Well, our emergency fund is essentially going to be something called our line of credit, right? Instead of savings, we're going to have something called cash flow. So in this situation, after every single month, we're not going to have any savings. Like you look at your savings statement or checking account statement, it should be near zero or zero, right? And so what we're going to do is maximize this number. Yeah, maximize this number hopefully on day one. Now, it's unlikely that some of you will actually have a line of credit available to use, right? And let me actually restart this. So, like, And first of all, what is a line of credit? It's a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and then use it over and over again. That's all a line of credit is, right? And so very unlikely that you'll be able to get like a free and clear line of credit when you're in a negative savings mode, right? And there's a saying that I keep repeating and nobody wants to listen to it, that banks only lend money to people who don't need it, right? And so again, I have over 200, no, $500,000 in lines of credit. And you got a 15 grand line of credit here. I got approved for this one, $280,000 home equity line of credit, right? So, people always like fear monger, oh my goodness, like, why would you put your home on as collateral for a lender? Well, that's what you do with a regular mortgage, right? Like okay, so with a line of credit is essentially a mortgage, so is a regular mortgage. But the difference between like a regular mortgage loan and a home equity line of credit is that one of them is a one-way street and one of them's a two-way street. And am I willing to pay more interest for or a higher interest for more access to money? Absolutely, just as long as I know how to do it right. Because sometimes people are always looking for the cheapest price. And let's say I'm selling Netflix memberships, and there's a 99 cent per month Netflix membership that you can only watch from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., right? I'll sell those all day, every day. It's kind of like term life insurance. Like nobody uses term life insurance because the life insurance carrier knows that it's going to be so cheap, and you're probably not going to die within the time period, right? That it's pretty much pure profit for them. In fact, if you just do like a Google search about how many term life insurance policies pay out, it's only like 2%, right? So the cheapest product is not necessarily the best product, right? So get that out of your head. And the other thing is banks don't lend money to people who need it. So that's how I have over $500,000 in lines of credit. And we're just going to assume that we have access to, I don't know, a $200,000 line. So let's go ahead and do this. And remember, our savings is always this number minus whatever our balance is, right? So this is going to be equals minus H2, okay? So what's our balance? Well, let's go ahead and start off with this. These 10 credit cards, let's go ahead and move to the line of credit. And this is my favorite part of the demonstration, and because it's so dramatic, and I probably need a video editor to help me with this. But if I just transfer that money, guess what? This goes to zero. All these payments. Whoa, how did that happen, right? Oh man. How do we get from negative $500 to $4,826? And the other thing too is that once we've optimized our cash flow and we're making our line of credit as our main operating account, what we do is we put our entire paycheck into that line of credit and then expenses out of the line of credit, right? So expenses out of the line of credit. And then after every single month, our balance in line of credit is going to go down 4,800 with a little bit of interest. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this, and then J2 plus 1. And so now what we're going to do is just copy this cash flow number. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Whoopsie. And so now this is just going to be equals, to get the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus the cash flows, which is 4826.94, right? And then now let's go ahead and calculate the interest, which is based on that average daily balance. So let me go ahead and do this. And I'm going to get the average here, multiplied by the interest rate, which is 0.09, and then you divide by 12, right? And then let's go ahead and copy these formulas. So if you have these three formulas set, then you can easily predict, like, hey, like when this line of credit is going to be completely paid off, right? And then we're almost done. And so now at 41 months, we've completely paid it off. But the cool thing is we're still going to have savings, because if we need savings in our emergency fund, it's just whatever we have available in our line of credit. So our quote savings is growing, growing, growing. And so if you've had an emergency like me, where you had to pay off, let's say, like a roof, and I didn't use my insurance just because I don't want I don't want to deal with it. And, if the whole point of getting credit is so that I can manage my cash flow and use it, right? And so let me scroll down here and let me to go here, and you see that at this point the credit line is restored again. So 41 months to pay it off, right? 41 months. And let's go ahead and write that down. 41 months, 167K. And now we have an auto loan at 55, a student loan at 200, and a mortgage at 350. So let's go ahead and pay these off. And if you don't know, we have a loan calculator section right here. If you know the original balance, the interest rate, and then the term, you can auto calculate the payment because these payments have certain formulas as well as the current balance, right? So people think, well, you can't take into account the interest. Oh, you can. This is what future value is for, right? And then you just put the number of months that have passed, like 2 months, and then you could see, oh, like, oh, this is the total interest you paid up to that point, and then this is the current balance, right? And so how many months have passed? It's 41. So 41, 41, 41. And you'll notice number CFI stands for cash flow index. I think of it as a ranking system of paying off our debt. It's a ranking system, right? And there are certain debts where they have a very low number. It's also based on not only on the interest rate, but also the term. The term is really important. And so all this means is that if it's a low number and we pay it off, we get a lot of bang for our buck for paying it off, right? So for paying off this 20 grand, I get $1,000 back. But if I paid 324 grand off, I only get $1,500 back. So obviously, I'm just gonna get rid of this auto loan, move it to that line of credit, and let's just do this right here. And so let me get rid of the savings section. So it's a distraction. All right, whoopsie. So let me do this here. All right, and then I just moved this 19 grand right here plus 19379.87, right? And yeah, so now what we got to do is once we've added that loan to that line of credit, okay, guess what happens to our cash flow? Increases by $1,000. So this is gonna be zero, right? And so now that will be 5903.08. Let's go ahead and do that. And right, so now we got to update the subsequent balances to include our new 5903.08 cash flow. And then you can see in about 1 to 3 months that cash flow or that loan is gone. So 44 months, we're good. All right, so 44 months, the auto loan is completely gone. So it's actually 167 plus 55, 50. I think it's 55, right? Yeah. So now it's $222,000. Okay, and then now we have to pay off our student loan. Okay, our student loan. And so let's go ahead and update our loans right here. So 44, 44. And this student loan is at a cash flow index of 65. Now, if you know how that works, anything above 50 you want to pay off. 50 to 100 is like eh. And above 100 is definitely don't pay it off with the line of credit, or that's how I interpret it. Now, here's the other thing too. I actually don't like anything near 50. So if it's like 49, I've noticed that like if you do put in the line of credit, you probably pay a little bit more interest than if you just had just like split it up into pieces, which we're always talking about in mortgage, chopping up your mortgage, incremental payoff, aka chunking. But let's go ahead and with this $137,000, I don't think I'm going to put in the line of credit, but I'm just going to pay it off using the chunking method, especially if I see a larger balance like this. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say skeptical, but I feel like I'm going to pay a little bit more interest than I have to. Whereas sometimes with auto loans, I'm like okay with it because, uh, because like sometimes one of the things that factors into how much interest you pay is like the amount. And all people focus on is this interest rate. Like that's the only thing they focus on. But let me whip out my velocity, well, not even my velocity banking calculator, the velocity banking calculator I use. So give me 1 second. All right, so velocity banking calculator. Okay, there we go. And so let's put in the deets. Um, Let me go in. Wait a minute. Let me go in here. And then since we're paying off the student loan, we just got to put on the student loan deets, right? Details. If for those of you who are not savvy like me, I am not savvy at all. I just copied that from other youngins. All right. So now, what am I? All right. All right. So now that we have a $200,000 loan balance, and what's the current balance? It's 137,943.01. 137,943.01. And then what is the interest rate? It's 5%, 10 years. And then the payment amount is 2121.31. Okay, so we'll do a $15,000 chunk amount. We're making how much? 12 grand in our income. And then how much expenses do we have? It's everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off. So let me just quickly calculate this on my other screen. 20 plus D. Okay, so 3975.61. So 3975.61. All right, so we can see that it takes us 1.5 years to pay off. Now, I'm just curious that if I replace this entire thing into the line of credit, what's the difference, right? So I know with mortgages we talk about don't do that, but I want to see what happens if we do this large student loan balance here, 1.5 and 5,900. Ooh, we pay almost double. I'm definitely not doing that. All right, so now it's 1.5 years. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. And then let me go back to another spreadsheet. And then so 1.5, so 1.5 times 12. No, 5 times 12. That's 18 months. So 44 plus 18, 62 months. Okay, so 62 months. And now that's going to be 422K. And then wablam, right? All right. So now the only thing left is that mortgage. And again, we just put in our velocity banking calculator. And so let me just go here and just type in the information again. And so the expenses were now, hold on, did I screw up? I've been screwing up lately. It's probably because it's early morning. No, I didn't. Okay. So now I got to do this, which is 2,500. Okay. And then this is going to be 30 years. And then the original mortgage something is going to be 350,000. 350,000. And then the current balance is 322,101.51. 322,101.51. And then the mortgage balance is interest rate is 3.5. And then the payment amount, no, it's 3. So my bad, 3. And then the payment amount is 1475.61. All right, so let's see how long it takes us. Well, blam, 3 years, right? So the thing that we really have to be careful of, especially with so-called efficient loans, with the high cash flow indexes, is that we cannot replace the mortgage with the line of credit, because if we do, we only get this $1,400 of cash flow back, and now this $322,000 loan is now enclosed in a 9% wrapper, right? Whereas we just hold most of it in a 3% wrapper, and then we attack the principal in $15,000 chunks. As long as we have enough cash flow, the what's it called is minimal. The effect of the 9% interest rate is minimal. So let me just go ahead and do this. And then 3.3 years and 51 grand. So 16 grand, 51 grand. I'm going to leave money on the table. So I'm just going to do small chunks, 15 grand. And you can say it paid off in 3 years. Now you might be asking, what is this Renatus thing? Well, believe it or not, this whole cult is a sales funnel for Renatus products, right? So, think of it as like your textbook, your study guide, um, whatever. This is where I originally learned velocity banking from, and I probably got to do like, webinars and stuff to kind of sell this stuff because I probably need to get product out the door. I haven't been doing a good job. In fact, in the Google form below, I've been always saying, don't submit the form if you're going to waste my time because I've had several people waste my time. And as you know, when you become rich, I'm gonna tell you the funny thing about becoming rich, you want to talk to less and less and less people. You only want to talk to serious people. Like I don't know if you ever heard this in like real estate investing. Oh yeah, people give me referrals all the time because I actually do the deals. You know why? Because there are so many people who just do not keep their word and do what they say they're going to do. And this is why, like, and this is like a side tangent here. One of the biggest issues in real estate investing is people legislating wholesaling because there are too many wholesalers who get things in their contract and you're dealing with distressed sellers, right? So you need to complete your transaction, but they just kind of get it under contract, probably, overpaid too much and overpromised the seller of what they could do, and then they didn't complete the transaction. And just being able to complete your transaction has incredible value to the marketplace, right? So just kind of want to throw that in there. Again, Renatus is not affiliated directly with me. I'm an independent contracted marketer, or this quote cult is an independent contracted marketer for Renatus products, and I probably shouldn't say that, right? Like, or I shouldn't say the part that this is a cult, but for some reason people click these videos when I say it is, and we're not officially registered anywhere as a cult, but apparently if you do all this stuff, people attack the cult and they think it's going to make you lose your hair, which is quite insane. Like, I've seen legitimate comments about like, yeah, 9% interest rate and 3% interest rate, got to be careful with that, but losing your hair, that's a new one. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go ahead and go here, and let me just type in the final. So 3 years, that's 36 months. So 36 plus 62. What's that? That's 98 months. So 98 months, and then that'll be 772K, right? And so what's 98 divided by 12? Whoa, not bad. So about 8 years to pay off, 8.1 years to pay off $772,000 of debt, right? 8.1 years. Not bad. So again, you could be a successful rich person or a broke rich person, and that's really all velocity banking is about. Is about how to manage your cash flow. It's not about income generation. Income generation you have to do through other activities, whether it's owning a business, working a W-2 job. So if you're not making enough income in your W-2 job, realize it's not about how hard you work. It's about the marketplace you're in. So for example, I could be the worst doctor in the world, and I'm going to make more than the average McDonald's worker, right? Because it's a different marketplace, right? People don't understand that. Now, before we end for today, since we're kind of doing references to old stuff like Britney Spears, I don't know if you ever like have seen that guy who did the "Leave Britney Alone" video, but man, that guy has changed so much. Like, let me actually kind of show you here. And where is the? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, take a look at this guy. I mean, you remember this guy who's like, leave Brittany alone. And then this is actually him in real life now. I'm like, bro, like, dude, you transformed. Kind of like Optimus Prime. Actually, no. Actually, there's that new Transformers movie that I hear is really good, Transformers 1, but I'm saying, like, look at this guy. And then you know what I heard about Britney Spears? I heard she like has basically been estranged from her kids, or like her kids don't want to talk to her anymore because like, and this is like 2 years ago, right? Um, she kept posting topless photos of herself on Instagram. This is what I heard, and I can't, and I need to find the article. And her kids are basically begging their mom to stop doing that and are embarrassed, which is why they won't talk to her. I don't know. Has this become a gossip channel now, like TMZ? Velocity Banking, TMZ. Celebrity gossip with a dose of financial management and training, debt management. But yeah, so again, a lot of things that I'm just kind of bringing to the table here. Like, hey, is this really a cult? Well, it seems like people want to join for whatever reason. You take a look at this and looking good. Your channel's views are slightly higher than usual in the last 28 days, and you take a where's that right here dashboard. Like, look how many people wanted to join this cult. And here's the other crazy thing, right? The first video I talked about joining a cult, 3 people subscribed. What's up with that? Again, I became an accidental cult leader like Homer Simpson with the Stonecutters, right? Let's take a look here. And one new subscriber. But look, people are just like, they're watching more than the last video, 78 hours, because your cult leader is demanding that your line of credit be your main operating account. Okay? And the reason that I think people are just kind of like, not necessarily wanting to join a cult is just because they lack structure in their lives. They've become like, they follow the advice of do whatever the F you want, and then realize that that's the reason why people are broke, stressed, and, you know, actually, what she say? Mean and bitter, right? Because they followed this advice, not because they put their money in a line of credit. But sometimes I wonder when people come to these videos if they what's their agenda? Because my agenda is just to sell stuff. You know what I mean? And make some a little bit of money and teach people. And you shouldn't be like ashamed that you want to make money because that's how you make money in this society. You got to sell stuff, right? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, go to work and tell your boss or whoever, it's like, hey, you should shame me for wanting money to go to my job. Like, it's bizarre psychology. Like, I don't really get it, but people have done that to me many, many times, and they'll do that to you forever. But luckily, I'm in a position where I kind of don't need any of your money. Although that extra sweet $300 to $500 that YouTube gives me every single month is pretty sweet, right? Like sometimes like if you get like more than $100,000 from a transaction, like it's not a like sometimes it's also about like what is typical. So if you make $100,000 transaction in a field where like, oh, that's normal, whereas YouTube, you make like $500 a month, and that's totally not normal because every person who gets monetized only gets like $50 a month on average. Then that's like pretty sweet because it means like, yeah, even though I'm not making that much money on YouTube, it's better than everybody else. That's sometimes how it is for me. All right, well that's it, everybody. So yeah, don't be like Rediger. Hopefully you want to join the cult and pay for some Renatus oh, I'll say cult in quotes. Pay for some Renatus education. Go ahead and click the Google form link below. Other than that, have a great day, and we'll speak next time.